So after filming S.E.R system test 34, I figured you might want to see more of the front flopping fire alarm pull stations in detail. So I still have all the ones that were in the test laid out, and I've actually gone back through the collection and added a few more that I missed. And let me show you more of them in detail today. So this right here is the Fire-Lite BG-8. It's probably the most common one. It's the model that everyone thinks of when you hear of this type of pull station. And essentially these pull stations are the way that they are because when you pull down from the top, the entire front piece flops down. And when it does so, it activates a button here on the inside. The button is normally pressed in by the front cover, and as soon as the front flops down, the button flies up. And as long as it's wired into a fire alarm system without any verification, it's going to trigger the entire system and there's no going back. Even if you push the button back down again, the system will stay activated. So in order to reset it at that point, you would have to use the fire alarm control panel and then the special either key or tool to reset the pull station from there. But anyways, this is the Firelight BG-8. It's probably the most common one. And then Fire-Lite also made a silver version of it, and this version was also made by Notifier. This one right here is an NBG-1TS. The TS actually stands for terminal screws. On the back, this one has terminal screws. A lot of these BG-8s only have pigtail wires on the back, which, if you ask me, I really like terminal screws a lot more than pigtail wires. It makes it a lot easier to wire up, especially if resistors get involved. But anyways, I'll go ahead and pull this one. It pulls just the same. It's the same color. It's the same pull station, just different color. Anyways, there was an older model of this pull station that Notifier put out. It's actually the same model, which is NBG-1, and it pulls the same way, only it's a little bit harder. So let me go ahead and try and do that here with one hand. It's kind of hard. Gonna have to set the camera down here in order to pull it. It's a very hard pull station to pull. Let's give it a shot with two hands. There it goes. And when it is mounted to the wall with these screws right here, it is a lot easier to pull, just because you have the leverage in your favor. However, when it's not mounted to the wall, you're pretty much prying both sides apart. And it's a lot harder to pull because on the inside we have a very tight spring, whereas the other models just have a flimsy piece of metal that holds it in. But yeah, that's the NBG1. Down here we have a Life Safety MS-501U. It's the same concept. I'll go ahead and try and give it a pull here. This one also is a little bit hard to pull, but there it is. The more flimsy that piece of metal is, the easier it is to pull, and this one is not as flimsy as compared to the BG-8, which is pretty flimsy. Go ahead and show you here. Yep, that one is pretty flimsy. And then down here, this one is not as flimsy, so it's a little bit harder to pull. Anyways, this one also takes a Simplex B key, which is kind of nice. I don't have to hunt down the key from the company. I can just steal a key over from my Simplex pull stations. Moving on, we have a Professional Fire Systems model MG1. If you've seen prior videos, you've seen this before and know that this one requires a brake rod in order to hold the front cover up. So there's no flimsy piece of metal on the inside. In order to pull it, I have to break that rod. So right now I do just have a stick on the inside, and I'll try and pull it. However, I might need to set the camera down again. All right, let's give it a pull here. It just depends on how dense that stick is on the inside. But anyways, you can see that the stick brake rod did break when I pulled it. And now I can't reset it without a new brake rod. So, and then the button is right here and it just pops back up. That's activating the alarm. So in order to reset this, I do have a little stick here, which I'll just break off a little piece, and then we can just set it on the inside of the pull station. And then the key on the inside is actually what breaks the stick, and it's ultimately the point that holds the front cover up. So this pull station's now all reset and ready to go. All right, moving on to the next one, we have a MirTone model. You've seen this one on the channel before. It is a 73303U, and it's very similar to all the other pull stations here in that the front just flops down like that. This one is held up by a little piece of metal as well. And here's the button. This is a Honeywell S464D1000, and I'll go ahead and give it a pull. It's very different actually from the rest of them in that it's not held up by a piece of metal or a spring or a brake rod. It's actually held up by some plastic bumps. Let's go ahead and pull it. It's actually pretty easy to pull. And those plastic bumps are actually right up here on the top, and they latch in to some divots on the other side of the cover. And one thing that you can do with this pull station, if you wanted to make it harder to pull, you could actually install a brake rod right here that would latch into the back of the unit and make it a lot harder to pull. So maybe we'll do that at some point for a system test. Okay, moving on. We have an FCI MS6. I was looking at the collection and realized, yeah, this actually does kind of fit that category. You can pull it straight from the top, maybe. There it goes. And then this one is held in by a piece of metal as well. So that's probably the most common way of holding these pull stations in. And then we have my Simplex 4251-2K key activated pull stations. These two are kind of rare. And I was looking at the collection shelves and realized, yeah, they kind of fit that category, because what you do is you stick the key in, unlock the pull station, and ideally the front would flop down. However, these are kind of getting old, and you would maybe have to pull it down just a little bit. I'm trying to do it with one hand. There we go. And the front flops down, and then the button flies up. And then this pull station does kind of get stuck. Let me try and open it here with one hand. There we go. And this one is actually kind of cool because it has a red button. It kind of reminds me of Rudolph for whatever reason. Last but not least, we have the newest addition to the collection. It's the Kidde FM 950-U. Should we give it a pull? I think so. All right, here we go. This is gonna be loud. In 3, 2, 1. There it is. All right, everyone, that is my collection of front flopping fire alarm pull stations. Thank you everyone for watching this video. If you found any of it interesting, definitely go check out some of my other videos. Rate, comment, and subscribe, and please have a great day.